What's up, guys? Thought we'd take a retrospective look back at one of the best movies of all time. Children of Men. Came out in 2006. How has this film aged? What is the experience of watching Children of Men in 2025? Well, before we dive into this analysis, I beg you, if you haven't seen this film, go back and watch it. There's going to be some spoilers, and I want you to feel and experience the commentary and interesting themes and political messages that this film had for us nearly 20 years ago. Experience it for yourself, and then come back. The premise of this film is that, I think around the year 2009, there was a horrible disease that killed off all the children on Earth. And then immediately following that, women were unable to have children. They all started having miscarriages. And then following that, nothing. With no new children on Earth to replace the aging population, the whole Earth finds itself on a ticking time bomb with a declining population. An apocalypse that is very unique, but now, about 20 years later, said apocalypse seems to be upon us, or at least upon the West, and especially taking place in Asia today. We hear about this all the time, that for decades, countries like Japan and South Korea and China have not been meeting the minimum birth rate to sustain their population. And this is having dire effects on the political and economic situation in those nations. And despite tons of efforts by their governments, they really don't seem to know what to do about it. And in the premise of this film, that's more or less what's going on. No more children, which has complex political implications. And Britain, where this film takes place, seems to be the only state that is somewhat handled things as well as it can. It's the most stable state on Earth, and it's really gone back to its 1984 root. And with an influx of nationalism, and in the state of it being the only stable one, it has acquired a large number of refugees that are trying to get there, which contributes to this influx of nationalism. And when the refugees and illegal immigrants aren't treated well, they strike back with terrorism, and then there's further false flag attacks. Sounds an awful lot like the world we live in today. Europe, these last 12 years, has had an influx of refugees from the Middle East due to foreign policy disasters and endeavors over there. Terrorism has become, sadly, seems to be part and parcel of Europe. And this has all led to an influx of nationalism, and that's part why Britain chose to leave the EU. I know it took forever, but eventually did happen. And then later in this film, we hop into Bexhill, the refugee camp, and my goodness, that is basically an amusement park ride of Gaza today. A lawless place that's occupied under economic and military occupation. And then, once the terrorist attacks happen, false flag attacks, whatever they may be, the British military comes rolling in full throttle to just steamroll the place. Sounds very familiar. Sounds an awful lot like what we've been seeing going on in Gaza for the last 2 years. Or here's another scene with this film.
Alex, take a pill. Ah!
A generation tied to medication. Wow. Yeah, that sure sounds brutally familiar now, doesn't it? I digress. Not only a generation tied to medication, but a generation tied to their devices. And I will admit I am probably contributing to the problem by making YouTube videos, but so be it. This film predicted the future. What more can I say? Politics and story aside, its cinematography and utilization of long takes and capturing almost everything in camera with very little use of CGI means the film has aged tremendously well. It looks like it could have come out this very year. There's not a single component of it that looks dated. And let's take a look at some of those long takes. We got the one where they're in the car and they get attacked by an angry mob. Or we got the incredible, very long shot of the refugee camp being torn asunder in the middle of a battle. And I do think they might have snuck one cut in here. You can see the blood disappear off the camera lens. Or maybe they just went through frame by frame and removed it, but I kind of doubt it. Regardless, even if this is 2 takes, it's still incredible. And then from a couple other things, you can even see that early in the film, one of the Fugees or fishes, whatever they're called, is already keeping tabs on Theo. And then when he sneaks into the refugee camp, you can see I think it's the Australian dude with the dreadlocks. He's over there. See that?
Look up, you piece of shit. Look up. Non c'entro niente, sono cattolico. Non c'entro niente. Get out. Up now, come on, up.
Just little details that add so much to the film. Then this prisoner's pose is clearly a reference to the Abu Ghraib scandal that happened during the Iraq War just around the time of this film's release. What a masterpiece of film. Michael Caine's performance, give that guy an Oscar. This is one of his best performances. Again, with regards to attention to detail, I love the way that Theo is wearing a London 2012 Olympic sweater. I really think that's just so awesome and goes to show all the great thought processes that went into the creating of this film, because it came out before the Olympics had even been hosted in London, but they knew it was coming, and the film's set in 2027. So what better way to make that film more grounded than by putting a worn out 2012 Olympics hoodie? It's awesome. Another really interesting thing to take in consideration with this film is the way that if you look at the age of the British military folks, they look pretty old. Obviously that there haven't been any new children being born, but that's actually a dilemma that's facing Europe's militaries as we speak. The median age of military members amongst European militaries is increasing due to a lack of there's a low birth rate, and also a lack of interest, lack of modernization, lack of proper incentives and patriotism for people to serve in the armed forces over there across the pond. Just another way that this film becomes all the more relevant day by day. We're only 2 years away from 2027 when this film takes place. It is a shame this film did not get the attention it deserved. But 20 years later, it's one of the most politically relevant films to date. And it is a masterpiece.